Әлді әләуләй, ұйықтай қойшы баламай, ақ бесікке жата қой, тәтті ұйқыға бата қой.
The Kazakh proverb says, people's future begins from a cradle, and it has a deep meaning. To this day, the child's cradle was of special significance. Our ancestors attached an almost spiritual meaning to the cradle. The cradle is not only a child's place to sleep, but also the way of upbringing a child. You're watching Kazakh Life Dastur with Tamara Assar. The history of the creating the cradle, the traditions connected to it are really interesting. The guest of our program, Akhmet Pernebek Kydyrbaiuly, created the first folding cradle in Kazakhstan. He came from Taraz city.
Dastur бағдарламасына арнайы келген қонағымыз Akhmet Pernebek Kydyrbaiuly.
Welcome to our studio. Can you tell us about your invention, the history and meaning of the cradle in general? I think it will be especially useful for modern women of our time. The cradle is a child's wooden rocking crib, which has become a sacred part of the Turkic people's nomadic culture. Uzbeks, Tajiks, Turks, the Kyrgyz people, the Kazakhs, and even people in Yakutia first lay down a newborn child in a cradle. The Kazakh people use a talbesik, that is a cradle made of willow wood. It is very comfortable. If nomads stopped temporarily by the river, they could cut willow tree, carve a cradle, and continue their way. What are features of the cradle? You know that the human spine is fundamental, vital part of the body. Therefore, the cradle was invented for an infant to sleep on the flat surface and grow healthy. People had a nomadic way of life. They were always in motion. Mainly, people were engaged in animal husbandry. They placed the child in the cradle and went to do housework. They were sure that the child will be safe. After he wakes up, his hands and feet are untied and massaged. There are special exercises. Yes, presently children often have abnormal formation of hip joint. Dysplasia. Yes, it is called dysplasia and appears when a child lies motionless for too long. The child needs to be untied every 3-4 hours, letting him move his arms and legs freely. Make some exercises. The child feels cherished and good when his mother is near with him. Sometimes toddlers have sleep disorders. Yes, you're right. Sometimes the child won't sleep for long because his arms wiggle and flail. Mostly this will negatively influence children's character. He may grow coward. Yes, he may get scared of hands wiggling. Therefore, we concluded that laying a child in the cradle has a positive effect on children's upbringing as well as character development. Yes, you're right. Children need good, sound sleep to ensure proper body and mind development. The child gets used to a quiet sleep only in the cradle, and in the future, regardless of the profession, a man always needs a good sleep. It is no doubt that the cradle has many useful functions. Exploring the entire history of the Kazakh cradle carving, the master invented a new modern rocking cradle suitable even for a businesswoman. Tell us about it, please.
қыз келіншектер үшін жиналмалы ыңғайлы бесікті ойлап тапқан. Осы жайында.
I had the patterns of a traditional cradle. I began from the very beginning.
Бесікке размерларын келтіріп, бәрін келтіріп
Every time it got better, I carved the Kazakh ornaments on the cradle and made it beautiful. That's why it became popular abroad.
Сондай істедім, содан кейін бара-бара ол жақсы бола берді. Содан кейін бір оюын жасадым, оны әдемілігіне мән бердім. Содан мен мысалға бір қазір бесік қазір шетелге кетіп жатыр.
Қазақтың бесігі ескі.
The Kazakh cradle has a centuries-old tradition. Probably someone can ask if there are any samples of Asian rocking cribs that are kept to this day. Yes, there are some. For example, this cradle was made in 1957 and belongs to the Musin family. It was passed down in the family for generations. They lived in China. But anyway, they respected and honored traditions. Only imagine this cradle has a half-century history. And in some regions, there are cradles which were made a century and a half centuries ago from bones and wood. They are kept in local museums. Now let's talk about new modern folding cradle. Kazakh proverb says the house where there is a cradle is worthy of respect. This cradle was made 6 years ago. It is a brand of Kazakhstan.
6 жыл болды. Қазақстанның бренді болып тұр.
It is a folding cradle. See what a bag, specially made felt bag with the Kazakh national ornaments. It's convenient to take it with you somewhere. Let me try to lift it. I can lift it certainly. What a wonderful cradle. It is considered a bad sign to swing an empty cradle. Therefore, I hold it tight. And also there is a cradle for twins. It is presented on special traditions. Sure. For instance, when twins are born, their grandmother presents one of the cradles, and friends or relatives of a young mother present the other cradle.
Не болсын деп, жұмысты болсын деп, достар алып барады. Егер болмаса, сол елдің бір жаңағы аталары, апалары.
Let me show it. As you see, the cradle is easily folded. There is a special screwdriver. Can I do it myself? Of course, women themselves assemble it. Look, for the first time, I take the tool. You take this. Fit it in the hole. Right in the fitting hole? Yes. I can assemble the cradle. They say cradle makers and shoemakers are blessed. What a beautiful words. After all, one of them cares about a baby and the second about the warmth of his feet. Yes, it is right. This cradle does not creak. In the old days, women specially poured water on the wood so that it took shape. Nowadays, it doesn't creak and it is easily rocked. This cradle is called Asem Besik, isn't it? Yes, it's called Asem Besik cradle because my granddaughter Asem was the first to be put in this cradle. Dear viewers, we have assembled a transformer cradle and now let's put our little baby in it. Now it's time to show the ceremony of laying a baby in the cradle. We invited Bagdagul Bisimbekovna to our studio.
бүгін осы жиналмалы заманауи қалыптағы әдемі әсем бесікке
And right now we will swaddle a baby in this beautiful cradle.
ең басты актрисамыз біздің бөпеміз.
And our most important guest today is little baby Maryam. We wish that she does not cry. Here is Maryam's mother, Aygirim. We will lay baby Maryam in the cradle. The Kazakhs celebrate the ceremony when the child is laid in the cradle for the first time. Such day could be celebrated inviting only young friends. But often, of course, it is celebrated as a solemn event and called Shildehana. Young women, elder women, relatives are invited to hold special rites of laying a baby in the cradle. One of the main ceremonies is called Dastur, which is held as a game. The meaning of the game is to wish a child health. A healthy metabolism plays an important role in the physiological development of children. In particular, a lot of attention was paid to a child's stool. Therefore, the elderly women took sweets and coins and threw them through the hole in the cradle, while asking, "Tashtama, tashtama," which means, "Does the baby have a poop?" First, young women expecting a baby and women who couldn't get pregnant for a long time, as well as girls who wanted to become mothers in the future, were the first to hold out their hands for sweets. And now we will begin the ceremony of laying a baby in the cradle. Bagdagul Appa, Maryam and Aygirim, welcome to our studio. Now let's begin our ceremony. This is child's wooden cradle which has reached present day since the time of our forefathers. The cradle is made of birch tree. Before putting a child in it, the ceremony Tishterma is held.
Бірінші енді жаңағы өзіңіз айтып кеттіңіз, баланы бесікке бөлемей тұрып, тыштырмасын ырымын жасаймыз. Сосын кейін жаңағы баланы бөлемей.
Then it's necessary to purify the cradle with fire. We should clean with fire every corner of the cradle. This is a kind of mystical rite that means protection in the tradition of the Kazakh people. After all, in ancient times we believed in Tengri, and people at that time worshipped fire, water, and the sun. And this rite has remained since those ancient times. Yes, you're right, and now we will show how to do it. Let's hold the Shterma rite together. So did the baby have a poop? Yes, he had. You throw sweets, as we call it, shashu. Yes, this is how we throw sweets into the hole. Sweets are gathered by all the children. Let's take sweets. Before laying a child, we prepare bedding for him. First, here's a soft mattress with a special hole for the container, which ensures hygienic cleanliness. After that, we lay this blanket, which is also very soft. This is a pillow specially designed for the baby's head. And there is a little blanket for the lower back for baby's spine to grow healthy. Place under the lower back. Yes, under the lower back. The small pad is designed for legs so that they are formed straight. Now we'll start laying the baby down. We put all the blankets in the cradle. And viewers probably want to ask whether these blankets and pillows are made of cotton, wool, or down.
көрпешелер неден жасалған? Мақтадан ба, жүннен ба, құстың
All of these blankets and pillows are filled with cotton so that the baby sleeps comfortably and it's warm for him.
Жылы болсын. Бала
With your permission, I will continue.
енді жалғастырып өтейін.
In fact, down feather were not used to fill baby's pillows because it was believed that he would sleep like a bird,
Құс ұйқы деген
which means sleep restless and wake up often.
сондықтан құстың жүнін
For this reason, down feather as well as camel hair were not used. Sheep wool or cotton wool were chosen to fill child's bedding.
өңделген жақсы
It's important to understand that over the time, the cotton will become flat and the blankets will not be so high.
енді біздің Мариям
Well, our Mariam is ready.
әнекей баста
Let's start.
біз студияда болғаннан
Since we are in the studio, the process may differ from a real life.
өмірдегідей болмай қалуы мүмкін.
The main thing is that our little baby doesn't cry.
Жаным. Пәт.
Бисмиллахиррахманиррахим. Бірінші аяғын байлап алайық.
Let's begin our ceremony.
Зиян деп ұрсады.
The baby sucks pacifier.
Бисмиллахиррахманиррахим.
So we tie the legs first. Now sleep, my little baby, and I'll rock the cradle.
Қазір болды, мінекей болды, алтыным, мінекей беске бөледім сені. Қазір ұйықтайсың, қазір тербетеміз. Баланы бөлегеннен
After the child is laid, swing the cradle quietly because it is harmful for the child's brain.
шайқалады дейді. Сондықтан
Therefore, women must be careful.
шайқау керек.
Our baby fell asleep.
Бағдарламамызды.
While we continue our program. We already learned about the hygienic benefits of the Kazakh cradle,
Халық үшін өте ыңғайлы
talked about its convenience for the nomadic people.
күндегі ғалымды сөйлеп
Now we will talk about scientific advantages.
педиатр мама
We welcome the pediatrician
Ноғай Ақжарқын
Koshim Nogai Akjarkın Baybota Kızı and the young singer Akhbota Nur.
сонымен әуелгі сұрақты мен Ақжарқын
So Akjarkın, would you please tell us about the benefits and harms of the cradle?
әрине медицина бір орында тұрған жоқ.
We all know that many discoveries are made in medicine. Every day, researchers quietly pave the way for the advancement of medicine.
Енгізіліп отыр.
There are disputes on the issue of swaddling a baby.
Сәбиді жаялыққа орау жайлы аналар мен мамандар арасында көптеген келіспеушіліктер болып жатады.
неге?
What's the reason for that?
Кейінгі жылдары сәбиді тығыз жаялыққа
Because lately it has been proven that tight swaddling is harmful to the baby. For example, in maternity hospitals, pediatricians and neonatologists recommend free swaddling.
орауға кеңес береді.
Of course, as a doctor, I can't tell parents whether they should swaddle or put a baby in a cradle.
Немесе болады, бесікке жатқызуға болады, немесе болмайды деп айта
Even the
алмаймын.
doctor can say exactly. It's a very interesting answer.
Қызық жауап.
Ол әр
In my opinion, it is the choice of parents in every family. As for the harmful characteristics of the cradle,
тоқтала кетсем,
I think for the baby who is swaddled up tight, it's hard to breathe and blood circulation becomes poor.
алымы нашарлайды екен.
Сіздің жаңа сөзіңізде
You just said that this is the decision of every family. Is that a proof or a recommendation?
Соған қарағанда бұл дәлел емес, пайымдау сияқты.
We know in what position the baby lies throughout 9 months in the womb.
Сені ана құрсағында жатқан
The arms are close to the chest and the legs are bent
кеудесіне жақындатылған, ал
at the knee
аяқтары
and buttocks
тізе және,
joints.
жамбас буындарында бүлінген
Therefore, it's believed that swaddling a baby up to 3 months is contrary to its physiology.
қатты орау
That its arms and legs should be free, and women can swaddle her child freely.
яғни аяқ қолдары бос.
In addition, hip dysplasia is very common now, and it is caused by tight swaddling.
Қазір жамбастан дисплазиясы жиі кездеседі. Бұл әрине жаңағы тығыз ораудың салдары. Сонымен қатар жаңағы
Дәлел бар ма?
Is there medical evidence for this? Yes, there are some. There are still some contradictions between medicine and the Kazakh traditions. We are not going to refuse using the cradle, but people can't ignore science, living only according to traditions. Therefore, a compromise must be reached. Our guest Agbota is a young singer and has 2 children. Both of them slept in the cradle. Please tell us more about this, Agbota. Yes, I have a son and a 7-month-old baby. Is that a girl? Yes. My son's name is Ibrahim and daughter's name is Aisha. Honestly, my mother also put me in the cradle. From childhood, I knew a lot about the traditional Kazakh cradle. Of course, at that time, I did not even know about all peculiarities. I saw others laying the child in the cradle, swinging it. Now my children also sleep in the cradle, and I know that my daughter is safe there. Is this convenient to you? Yes, it's very comfortable. The child lies wrapped up. In addition, I'm using shumyek, a special container for hygienic purposes. Can you tell us about this? We ordered the cradle in the South Kazakhstan region. I always laid my son with a special container for hygienic purposes. My grandmother taught how to do it right with cotton wool. But it was little difficult to use when my daughter sleeps in the cradle. Therefore, sometimes it was necessary to put the baby in the diaper. Sometimes you find the way out. I do it only when my mother-in-law isn't at home. At this time, my daughter is at home lying in the cradle with a special container. The main thing is that the child is calm and clean. After she has a meal, she can sleep for a long time in the cradle. Of course, they say that a child sleeps quietly in the cradle, but in my opinion and according to practice, I can say that a baby will sleep peacefully anywhere. If he is well fed, has a clean diaper, nothing bothers him. For example, if a child has an allergic rash or colic or stomachache, then he sleeps restlessly wherever he lies. Kazakhs always put their children in the cradle. It was convenient for nomadic people. By the way, according to scientific evidence,
көшпелі халыққа өте ыңғайлы болған. Енді ғылыми дәлелдерге қарайтын болсақ, бұл бесіктің адам тек қана дене бітімі ағзасының дамуына емес, ол тіпті психологиялық дамуына да.
Raising a child in the traditional cradle influences not only physical but also mental development. In the past, people kept saying if a child is ill-mannered, he wasn't put in the cradle. Thus, our ancestors believed that the Kazakh rape was useful. It is clear that there are contradictions. Perhaps doctors are right. Or maybe we should follow our traditions. We're not sure about it as well. However, let your child sleep at least for some time in the national cradle. After all, Kazakh people always follow their traditions. Therefore, it's good when a young girl wears the saukele and after giving birth to a child, raises him in the cradle. You watch Kazakh Live Dastur with Tamara Assar. See you next time.
Ұйықтай қойшы баламай, ақ бесікке жата ғой, тәтті ұйқыға бата ғой. Әлді әләуләй, ұйықтай қойшы баламай, ақ бесікке жата ғой, тәтті ұйқыға бата ғой.